I won't be before you long. He has given me a time frame, but I don't think that I will come close to that time frame. My address today is on social justice. Society defines social justice as a belief that everyone is entitled to economic, political, and social rights as well as opportunities. It has been said to be based on the value of fairness, equality, respect, diversity, and the application of human rights. But what is social justice to you all? They left out that this only applies to those with privilege. Malcolm X stated, I quote, "I'm for truth no matter who's telling it, and I'm for justice no matter who it's for or against it. And such as, I'm for whoever and whatever benefits humanity as a whole. Race, religion, gender, and class should not determine the justice in the eye of the law. We live in a time when you can pay your debt and still not be forgiven. I want you guys to think about that. In America, after you paid your debt and you're physically free, but remain in a mental and systematic bondage, it's a plague. It's a plague that hunts us forever. God made us in the image of him, but yet society does not see us as equal. So, do we have leaders that do not believe in the word of God and value his creation? We live in a time where equity is a threat to those that do not share the same values, belief, culture, and skin tone. We live in a time where a traffic stop can end in death. We live in a time where wearing a hoodie can end in death. We are supposed to have freedom of speech, but even speaking up for others in the death or in speaking up for others ends in death or in aggressive issues. I believe Dr. King stated, true peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. The 5 main principles of social justice are access, diversity, equity, participation, and human rights. We all should have access to the same resources. Life can be overwhelming. No one should carry a life sentence for a crime that they committed. We're all born in innocence, but some are dealt a life sentence even before their life begins. We reap what we sow, but most of us are reaping what was sown by others because of our skin tone. Human rights are defined as basic rights and freedoms that are supposed to belong to everyone. Are human rights afforded to all of us? This is the social justice that we live in, the reality that is perceived by others. Was George Floyd entitled to social justice? Mr. Floyd was denied his human rights. Yes, he had a past just like everybody else in this room do, but was he afforded those same rights? We're going to look at his past, and looking at his past, we're going to focus on the negative side of it. The officers that were there, they were too busy violating his rights and disrespecting him. And instead, their idea of fairness came with taking the life of a man by the hands of their fellow officer. With a knee in his neck, he pleaded for his life. He kept saying, "I can't breathe," until he took his last breath. I do believe that social justice is no longer about fairness. I think it's more so about a life sentence. I believe I said it before, social justice is for those with entitlement. You know, for some, social justice comes at the end of a rope, behind prison walls, or being oppressed and caught up in a revolving system that does not involve an escape. You see, we're talking about social justice, but I cannot for the life of me talk about social justice without talking about discrimination. I can't talk about social justice without mentioning racism and sexism. I can't talk about social justice without mentioning the lack of equality and the fear of equity. You see, social justice was something that was meant for everyone regardless of their social and financial status. Social justice was meant for the rich and it was meant for the poor. It was meant for the felon, it was meant for the addict, the sinner, and even the saint. Your social class should not dictate your right to social justice. I've said many times, one of my favorite quotes by Dr. Martin Luther King is, if we are to have peace on earth, our loyalties must be in numerical rather than sectional. Our loyalties must transcend our race, our tribe, our class, and our nation. This means we must develop a world perspective. Dr. King made a famous address. In that address, he said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." The lack of social justice has caused a divide in communities all over the world. All over the United States, we're at a place where we're saying, I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change, but now I'm changing the things I cannot accept. The lack of social justice will one day change, and we will be equal under one nation, under one God. I believe it states indivisible liberty and justice for all, not just some. But until that day comes, we must be consistent in the pursuit for justice. One day we will get there, as Dr. King stated. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Jonesboro, whatever we do, we have to keep moving forward for a day where we all are created equal and social justice is available for everybody. Then we will be moving forward. I'm reminded of one of the greatest sporting events to ever take place. It was called the Thriller in Manila. Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest boxing matches to ever take place in sports history. We all know that in this fight, they say Muhammad Ali was overpowered and outmatched because of his size, because of his speed. I do believe from the history books that I'm reading and getting my information from, it says that the best part of this fight is he never gave up. What we should take from the late, great Muhammad Ali is consistency, determination, and focus is the key. Muhammad Ali was asked a question. He said, "How did you overcome a younger and a stronger boxer?" And his reply was, "I couldn't stay down." He then goes on to say, "If I knew I could go the distance, then I could overcome." It might be funny to y'all, but he said, I move, I jive. I move, he swings, he misses, and there goes his strength. He got tired, but my endurance outweighed his strength. We are determined to have equality for those who would never be equal. We deserve equity. We all deserve justice and the right to fair and equitable proceedings. Let us not forget our past, but let us embrace the lessons that are learned. We may not win every battle, but battle by battle, we will win the war. I want to take a second, and I said some names, but as I take my seat, I want you guys to go with me in a time machine to think about the times where social justice would have been very, very equitable to the people in this room. I'll say Emmett Till. When you say his name, a lot of people cringe because of the way that he passed away, or that he was murdered, rather. I say Mike Brown. A lot of people will say, "Hey, you know what, let's not talk about that because I don't want to spark a war. I don't want to spark a controversy in our community." You say George Floyd, you say, "Okay, let's not talk about that." You say Ahmaud Carroll, you say these names were people who were affected. Again, I say we can't talk about social justice without talking about discrimination. We have relationships. I myself, with the chief of police in Jonesboro, we work together to provide equitable and equal treatment to people within the city. I have a relationship with the mayor. I have a relationship with the city as a whole. But what about the people who don't have that relationship? How many phone calls do I get every other week or every other day in regards to issues not just in Jonesboro, but in the state of Arkansas? I've been around and around. I travel all over the United States, training and getting understanding on ways that we can prevent things. We're at a place now where I'm a firm believer in being proactive is a lot better than being reactive, because the moment I have to react, it's too late. I've made a harsh decision, or I've made a decision that I can't come back from. Why can't we be proactive? Why must everything we do be reactive? Because being reactive causes consequences that you can't come back from. What is social justice to everyone in this room? Are you afforded the same human rights as the next person sitting beside you? Are you discriminated against because you made a bad decision and you went to prison and you have a scarlet letter A on your chest, such as felon, instead of an adulterer? How does that affect you? When I get ready to go get a job or get an apartment, am I now marginalized, or am I now discriminated against or singled out because I made a mistake and I paid my debt, but my debt is supposed to be behind me, but it's following me everywhere I go? Where is the justice in that? How do you continue to say we're growing as a community, as an economy, but your focus is on what I've done? I can see if I mess up again. That's one thing, but until I do it, then why not afford me the same rights as you afford everyone else in our community? It gets old, it gets sad that every time you turn around, because I have a past, you're going to paint it on me and I'm going to wear it everywhere I go. Dealing with a situation in regards to injustice, and someone said, I knew who you used to be. Well, if you knew who I used to be, then why am I where I'm at right now? If you focus on who I used to be, I'll never get past where I was. Where is the justice in us discriminating? Where is the justice in us not understanding that together we're stronger, divided we're going to fall every time? I set up, as I was writing this address, I reached out to a few different people, and Tony being one of those people, and I kind of sent him some poems that I wrote, and he was, it kind of threw him for one because, again, I started writing not too long ago. Why did I start writing? Because I had no outlet to express myself. Because as a man, I'm not supposed to cry. As a man, I'm not supposed to show weakness. But again, where's the justice in that? There's sexism in that. There's discrimination in that because of how I'm supposed to feel. Who's going to stand up and say that's not right? Who's going to stand up and try to make a difference instead of allowing things that we can't change be the way that they are? I said in my address, we come to a place now where we are accepting the things that we can't change and changing the things we can't. But how is that relating to my life right now? Because if I don't stand up now, who's going to stand up for my children? If I don't stand up now, who's going to stand up for my children's children? What about my neighbor who don't have a voice? What about my sister who gave up a long time ago? Where is the justice in that? All right. Are you not tired? Yeah. I ask again, are you not tired? Yes. I shouldn't, and no disrespect when I say this, but I shouldn't cringe up every time I see a police car get behind me. Amen. I shouldn't. I don't worry about it because I know I haven't done wrong and you hadn't painted a picture of me. But what about those who have? There's a fear, not that we have inflicted in our community, but as a whole, as a society, there is a fear that this traffic stop may not end well for neither of us. We hear talk of the officer that was murdered in Memphis a couple of weeks ago. It's bad on both sides. But it's bad because we can't get on one accord. We live in a life full of verses. It's me against you. But why we can't be together? When we go to heaven, is there going to be one race? When we go to heaven, are they going to divide us by social class? When we go to heaven, are they going to pull my rap sheet up and say that you were a felon, you robbed this many banks? I don't think so. So why is it that I have to wait till I get to heaven to live as if I'm free? Why do I have to wait until I get to heaven for you to accept me for who I am? I'm a proud black man. I'm the father of 5 children. I am. I'm all of those things. I've made mistakes. I'm also a 2-time divorcee. But does that change my life as far as who I'm going to love or who I'm going to marry or who's going to change my life? I can't be discriminated on because of that. Because why? God forgave me for that. Why is it you tell me you serve the same God I serve and he can forgive you for what you're doing, but at the same time you can't forgive me and give me another opportunity? We live in a world of second chances. But who gets those second chances? I'm going to leave it. That's how I'm going to leave you guys. Who gets those second chances? How many times have your human rights been violated? How many times have politics played a part in your life in which you couldn't control what happened next? Yeah, your vote counts. If you're a felon and you lost your rights, come see me. We'll get them back. Your voice needs to be heard. I can sit here all day. I'm loud and I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of the man that I've become. But guess what? My voice is my voice. I only got one vote. But how do you enhance my voice? You got to vote. We have to have more events like this. We have to build relationships. That's what life is, building relationships. What are you going to do? That's my last question to you. I won't have a thought out of that after that. But my last question is, what are you going to do? You can sit in here all day long. I believe me and my pastor was talking and we were